Terry was always sort of the moderator, or the person that sort of balanced our decision making, because he would not say anything for quite a while, and Tony and I would put together our different opinions about something.
Oftentimes Larry and I would maybe be on the same page, and Terry would be very quiet until he would say something that would make us realize we were on the wrong side of the equation, and Terry was looking at it out of the box more realistically and rationally.
He was an incredibly smart guy, an incredibly hardworking guy. And I think we all kind of carried this passion for architecture. This is what we believed in, and this is what we were going to fight for.
Terry was honest. He was brutally honest. We as architects need to sit down and be honest with ourselves about the things we draw.
I always liked how he challenged the engineers. Terry had a vision about how the building was going to go, and whenever one of the engineers, whether it was mechanical or structural, challenged him and said, "I don't think you can do that," he would say, "Oh, yes, you can."
I would absolutely pick the Georgia Tech Manufacturing Research Center as being one of the most emblematic projects of Terry's work.
It was a pretty iconic building in a number of ways.
And that building bowed to the past, certainly was of the present, and spoke to the future. So there's frankly a timelessness to that and so many of his projects.
The work was not stylistic. It was responsive to its time, place, and context, and the materials that were available. You know, the Delta Airlines in Salt Lake City, perfect example. Trinity School, another great example. Georgia Tech, you know, the palette of materials was brick, you know, and glass.
What I learned through ISR was listen to everyone equally. No matter if you were the president of the university or just a staff member of the school, if you had an opinion, he wanted to listen to it.
For me, Terry was always about clarity. There was always an idea that started at the beginning of the project and ran all the way through, and there was a real emphasis on integrity of materials and integrity on how the building actually functioned.
The very first project I worked on was the Zoo Arc, a really fun project for a brand new architect.
That was Terry's concept, was for this kind of coiled snake, and part of that also was because at the time the program inside the building there was a chance it might be reptiles in the building, or other animals, and so Terry was very interested in symbology.
The first real project that I had the opportunity to work with Terry on was the Twin Creeks Science and Education Building, project for the National Park Service in Smoky Mountain National Park. I mean, he created what was a really spectacular mountain cabin-like 20,000 square foot teaching and research building. So he was able to sort of take what they wanted, even though it seemed crazy, and turn it into a really unique design.
On the Georgia Public Health Lab, one of the key ideas was to translate this sort of open framework for testing into really a daylight-filled lab that made a great place for the workers involved. So after we created this sort of long linear plan that has all of those things that Terry is interested in, the repetition of the module, the ability to change over time, he created this idea of this clear story that opened up the western facade. It also gave the workers great views out to the west. And by creating internal clear story windows, we were able to get light almost 60 or 70 feet into the building.
When we designed the new office space, it was actually kind of a crazy experience, and I like to think that even though Terry had actually no hand in the design of the new office space, it's very much built upon the design ideas that Terry put forth. We felt it was important that the new generation take the design forward. I have to say I worked with a very talented group of other designers on the project, but it's very much, I think, embodies, again, his sort of design sensibilities. It's a certain honesty about the way everything is put together, I think, is something that he would have very much appreciated. And I think that's really sort of the elegant pragmatist in Terry coming through in the design of our new office space.
The legacy I would take forward with Terry is really design. I think that was what he was so focused on. That's what he got up every day to do. He was such a presence, and a presence in his work, that when you look at the projects that he was directly involved with, there's a sensibility that's sort of this thread that goes all the way through it. And I think that those threads continue through all of our work.
So those are the sort of chief legacies of one, solve the client's functional problem. Let's figure out how we meet the budgetary requirements by creating sort of a unified repetitive plan. But then finally, where do we find the delight in the architecture, the beauty, by finding some poetic element, some element that we can make more beautiful than the client ever imagined. And at the end of the day, people are going to remember and love those buildings.
Is not to take it too seriously and to just enjoy the day-to-day process that he loved. That's what it is.
One of the things he always realized is the building was not for him. It was for the people he was designing it for at the end of the day. And so he wanted it to function, and he wanted it to last and be a legacy to the institutions that we design things for. And I think that if we could keep that on the forefront, I think, the future is bright.
I think Terry has laid down the gauntlet as a design challenge that we're here as architectural designers. We're not showboat designers, we are pragmatic, but we find the elegance in the program, in the site, in the aspirations of the project, and our charge is really to sort of put that together in an amazing, elegant way.
He was a pleasure and a delight and a prince of a guy. And as I said at his memorial gathering at the beer hall in office in Ann Arbor, he really was an authentic original.